Hi, I'm Mitch Donneberger. I'm a designer, illustrator, creative director, and developer in Philadelphia. I have 20 years of experience and a lot of stories to tell. I've been doing marketing support in the world's largest, smallest, and most well-known tech brands, such as LexisNexis, Cisco, Dell, HP Enterprise, HGST, and of course, Linode and Akamai. And this is a video series I'm going to be doing throughout the course of the summer, talking about how design has been used in my career to solve technical, logistical, marketing, as well as sometimes even branding, and even physical problems that exist in the world, or war problems for a brand. So today I want to talk about Linny, the Linode mascot. Linny was not official at first, but became official. And it's a really, really interesting story. So, to start from the very beginning, I joined Linode in 2019 when they were just getting ready to reboot the marketing department. They had gone 15 years essentially without either a branding update or a logo update or anything like that. And over the course of that time, they only had a single graphic designer, the famous and intimate Rob Weiss, who very handily carried everything over that time, but will readily tell you how stressed he was in the process. I had been a fan of Linode my entire life, right? When I was 16 and I started getting my first paychecks, that was one of the first things I thought about buying was getting a VPS on Linode. So when I got hired, I sort of walked in and we had a really weird challenge in front of us, which is that we had to build a brand from scratch for a business that has been operating for 15 years and is beloved by some of the most influential and accomplished developers and nerds and infrastructure people and ISPs all over the planet. Right? It's kind of a tall order to try to change anything about something that is that beloved. Anything that we changed, that didn't feel authentic to the Linode crowd of developers and so forth, they would not hesitate to let us know. So when we first got down to business, Blair kind of laid down something really instrumental that was in the mix from the get-go. And his perspective and strategy was to apply parity first. If you want to create a brand that is a competitor to something like DigitalOcean, what's necessary is first to bring the Linode brand right up to speed with what DigitalOcean does. And that can sort of seem like imitation or copying or whatever. But when you think about uh, marketing from a sort of self-improvement angle, you don't know what's better unless you have the data to kind of compare against. So the idea is to necessarily bring yourself as close as you can to your competitor so that you know what to improve, where to occupy the market that your competitor doesn't, and ultimately make the best strategies for how to overcome your competitor in that market. So, with that strategy in mind, we would walk into a conference room every Monday morning and we would load everything DigitalOcean up. We would load their newsletters, their website, their landing pages, any ads that we saw over the weekend, that type of thing. And it went down to all the way for PR and social and design and product management and product marketing. All of it was sort of based off the decisions of, well, what's DO doing and how do we do it better? So making a new brand from scratch, it's a lot of work. There's a lot to do, and specifically there's a lot of catching up to do, and that's a lot of time and effort. So when we first started sort of leaning into redesigning events, which was one of Linode's most successful forms of marketing that they were doing prior to this redesign. Um, in fact, they were actually famous for giving out the softest T-shirts, even though it just had the Linode logo on it in green. And they were also well known for chapstick. If you think about it, it's genius because when you go and you travel, what's the first thing you lose? Chapstick. So we did a lot of event analysis. We would go to the largest shows that we could find, and we would just attend them. Pretty much just walk around the show floor, see how everyone's positioning themselves, write it down, put it all into a codex or a knowledge base of sorts. And when we went around and collected all of the stickers, we found one startling commonality. They all had animal mascots. And I took this information to Linode's leadership and kind of pitched to say, hey, if we're thinking about parity, we got to get an animal mascot. Everybody has it. Even DigitalOcean had like a toy shark sort of thing that they cartoonized. It was very cute. Everybody essentially lined up and tried to get copies, plushies or whatever, stickers of their little shark. So when I proposed this to the leadership, they felt it wasn't necessarily a priority right now. Like we had a lot of, um, genuinely a lot of landing page and website development and product development and even just brand recognition work to do before we really invested any kind of time and effort. I sort of understood just from being in this industry and being someone who collects and enjoys the cute creatures myself, that having these types of stickers, it's one of the only ways that developers vouch for other companies. Sometimes when they do demos, they're going to have their laptop up in front of a crowd or an audience, and they're going to zoom in, and your sticker is going to be there right there on the close up of the presenter. So, very important, very influential. It's launched companies. And um, it seems like it was a dead end. So I kind of went home that weekend and I had this brain fart, if you want to call it that, about NASA's Skunk Works, which is this team at NASA that works on abandoned projects entirely for the love of the game. You have an important technology waiting behind it as long as somebody could figure it out. Being a cartoonist myself, albeit a failed one, I kind of got to work on some sketch pads and sketchbooks at home over the long weekends and at nights. And eventually I worked on and built a key for a penguin character, a green penguin character that I named Linny after Vinny, our head of people, who genuinely was one of the first people to come up to me and say, hey, this is a great idea. I want you to keep working on this and sort of give me the encouragement too. But also it's related to, of course, Linode and Linux. So it's a compact kind of thing that allows people to quickly sort of and intuitively understand that we were a Linux cloud hosting company, especially because of our proximity to, penguins are related to Tux the penguin, which is the official mascot of Linux. So it had what we call heuristics, where there's shortcuts in the brain that sort of allow people to kind of make that association very quickly. So sensing that I was at kind of a dead end and that I felt that this was a priority and something we needed to have in order to kind of be in market, um, I had this idea instead of what about if I shopped it to individual engineers? I could build a groundswell from the bottom up. And if all of the engineers love this, then our leadership would, I don't want to say fall in line, but eventually sort of understand that, yeah, I agree with this. This thing kicks ass. I want it. So that was where it started. I had the penguin and I had the name and I had the sort of general illustration and shape, but I didn't have a lot of the details. And I left that up to engineers, either through vote or through consensus or whatever. We had conversations and we defined what the sort of needs and requirements of a Linode mascot would be. And, Linny developed a plaid belly, which was an instrumental sort of aspect of Linny's character, that unfortunately later on had to go away because of it caused a number of production problems that I couldn't necessarily get around. Um, but over time, it worked. Specifically, Linny was sort of designed to only appear in very surgical situations. And by just continually always taking the time to provide a new Linny illustration for essentially any request I would get, um, that very quickly our mascot became beloved. to a point where we put Linny on every t-shirt that we would go to every event with, and we'd make fresh shirts for every event because Linny made it easy. All you had to do was dress Linny up in a different outfit or give Linny a little bit of like attitude, some sarcasm, something that kind of pokes fun at the city or at the location or whatever. And giveaways change from being tchotchkes into touch points with fans, right? Like, think about it from the perspective of how musicians interact with their fans. This is very much what it was like producing swag for people at Linode. It was even less about finding new customers and more about rewarding old ones. So Linny became so successful that, believe it or not, I achieved one of my dreams in life. And we produced a Linny plush. It was a limited run, granted, and we only managed to get, I think, 2 of them done before the acquisition happened, and Akamai kind of, by necessity, uh, resigned the need for Linny as sort of a marketing tool. But look at it. He had a laptop, he had a coffee cup, he even had a little Linode hoodie with, believe it or not, a hood that goes up and down. And it was one of the most successful pieces of marketing we ever did. We got, pictures from people on social media who were genuinely stoked to have one in their house. And I know for a fact that everybody who has one still has it on display, including myself. So, as odd as it may sound, animal mascots are sort of an important illustration of uh, why in marketing it's important to listen to your audience and to understand them on an emotional level more than a business level. So a large part of our marketing was simply speaking to the nerd in people and trying to create marketing and create giveaways and create incentives that allowed our customers to feel like they had a part of this, right? That Linode was something that they helped make and something that they could trust because they knew who we were. So that's the story. Linny sort of started out as a no, and I worked them into a yes by essentially working through the power of consensus and the power of community. A lot of becoming a very successful design department is really rooted in staying flexible, right? It's understanding that there are needs that emerge because of your strategy, such as ours, which was bringing parity to the business first in order to reboot it. Um, and then we had to stay logically consistent within that. So that logic, staying logically consistent there was matching DigitalOcean's mascot or matching, Go or Jeeves or one of the 100 million other ones I'll put on screen. And ultimately, that's making a connection. And when you make connections, you build loyalty. And when you build loyalty, you get that delicious, delicious MRR, which I think everybody wants and loves. Thanks for tuning in if you did watch. I did want to show you as well, Linny was so popular that when we got acquired by Akamai, an Akamite actually made a Linny for us in crochet, which, Kat, if you're out there, thank you. Still have it. It's still beautiful. And we do also have a crochet George, the penguin, which is a blue penguin that Akamai Security used around the same time that we got acquired. So it was kind of a nice moment of kismet. So if you want to check out more of my work, please check out my website at Donaburger, D-O-N-A, B as in boy, E-R, G as in girl, E-R .xyz. Stay tuned for more stuff like this. If you have any requests, leave them down in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Bye.